Hey guys, welcome back to Umineko. I hope it tells us a lovely, rousing bit of information about our friend Cannon here after he died. I'm pretty sure it'll happen soon, unless we're gonna have like a fleeting moment with Cannon as he on the ground. Let's see. I returned to the boiler room along with Aunt Natsui and told everyone weekly that we hadn't found anything. Dr. Nanjo and George Aniki carried Cannon-kun to the servant room. The servant room had a first aid kit and a sink, and could apparently function as a nurse's office. I think he's going to need more than a nurse. Kumasawa-san and Jessica accompanied them. He's like a general practitioner, he's not like a surgeon. Stain from Cannon-kun's blood remained on the floor. Judging by the large amount of blood lost and the ruthless shape of the weapon that had fallen to the ground, I figured that Dr. Nanjo's treatment would probably end in vain. That weapon was doubtlessly the same type that had been stuck in Aunt Eva and Hideyoshi Oji-san's foreheads. But wait, isn't the demonic design in the handle a little different? There seemed to be some small differences in that part. Still, as far as the overall shape was concerned, the weapons were all of the same type. Though it had seemed brutal, we'd left the weapons that had been stuck into Aunt Eva and Hideyoshi Oji-san to preserve the crime scene. So this was the first time that we were able to have a perfect view of the entire weapon. As we had expected, the weapon was not bladed like a knife, but shaped like an ice pick. Or rather, a thin steak. It also had a spiral-shaped pattern that might have been like a drill. It looked like something that might be driven into the hearts of human sacrifices in some demonic ritual. Including the handle, it was 25 centimeters long. Anyone got the ruler on hand? Good. Okay, good. Half of that was the steak-shaped part, which was stained with deep red blood. The length of the blood-stained part made it clear just how deeply it must have penetrated into Cannon-kun's chest. But Aunt Natsui and the rest didn't even look at the weapon, and instead stood in front of the incinerator, where the horrible stench was emanating from. They had probably pulled out that, what had been burnt up in the furnace. It was still smoldering, and kept sending out dense waves of that awfully unpleasant smell. Genji-san and Maria stared down at it. Aunt Natsui probably couldn't stand to look directly at it. She kept shaking her head, her back to it. I thought that after everything that had happened, nothing could surprise me anymore, but this was... Ugh. I stood there for a while, moaning, with a rising urge to vomit. The true form of that unearthly stench, which came from the burnt insides of the incinerator, was the smell of a charred corpse. The clothes, the surface of the body, and the hair were all hideously burned. That grotesque corpse was in a state where not the face, nor the age, nor even the gender could be guessed at. But when I thought about it calmly, I realized that a corpse appearing at this time could only be one person. It was the homeless guy the grandfather, who had disappeared that morning, and whose whereabouts had been unknown. I mean, without clear proof. See, I played 999. I'm used to seeing a destroyed body that everyone assumes is somebody, and then it turns out to be somebody else. Could be the homeless guy in the woods, for all we know. Exactly. We're gonna need some hard proof to back that one up. Like, see, I'll believe the witch thing, because there's spooky stuff going on here. But just automatically assuming that a dead body's a corpse, or his grandfather, that's iffy to me. Aunt Natsui, with her handkerchief over her mouth and her eyes averted, pointed and told me to look at the burnt corpse's feet. Oh, really? Just as Genji-san had said, there were 6 toes on each foot. Each of the toes had been arranged so normally that I hadn't noticed. Oh. Okay, that definitely makes it a lot more likely, but what if, said person who's trying to set this up, somehow, wanted us to think that? It would be easy enough, well, I don't know if I'd say easy enough, but I think it would be possible to set up whatever fake or dummy you're using with an extra toe. So, I'm not quite sold on that one yet, let's just say that. Yep, those are clearly linked. Polydactyly, I hope I'm saying that correctly, literally means many fingers. Because of a little mistake by God when the person is born, one of their toes or fingers splits into two, and the total number increases. But a big deal usually isn't made out of polydactyly in the world at large. That's because it isn't a disease. It's just something people are born with. So while they're still babies, at about the time they turn 1 year old, they can be taken to the hospital and given surgery to make them normal. Even a child with polydactyly can be treated before they become aware, so they might not even remember it themselves. By the way, it seems that there's a possibility for this to occur in 1 out of every 2,000 babies. So, even though it's not usually seen, it isn't that rare at all. Is that so? I didn't know that. Speaking of which, I think Hideyoshi Oji-san mentioned something to me long ago. Something about how even Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the man who unified Japan at the end of the Sengoku period, possessed 6 fingers on one hand. According to Nanatsui, among the many Ushiramiya family heads, the one praised most for their wisdom all had possessed polydactyly. Polydactyly, that sounds right. Because of that, when grandfather was born, his relatives were all excited at the thought that he might become another wise leader. And when the leading relatives all died in the Great Kanto earthquake, it was apparently argued grandfather should be the one to restore the family, because of the auspicious sign of his birth. If grandfather hadn't disliked his position as the head overly much, the 6th toe must have been pretty lucky for him. Come to think of it, I think I've heard about some country where it's believed that people with polydactyly should be treated as gods and revered. And there's probably another country where they send the babies off of a cliff because of the same condition. This is beside the point, but it's fairly common in mystery novels for a corpse to be burned to hide whose body it is. Exactly. But I guess that in grandfather's case, just being toasted wouldn't be enough to hide the proof of his identity. And grandfather's body was not simply burnt. Oh boy, let's learn about grandfather. Alright, oh yeah. Oh man, look at grandfather. Look how much blood he's got. We got, look at this. We got the Shiramiya's all over here. They got blood on their face. Grandfather's like toasted. Burned in the incinerator, with a weapon resembling an ice pick rammed into his forehead. Oh, they didn't tell us that yet. The old sorcerer's wish vanished before it could be granted. He always knew that this was one possible result of his risky gamble. He did say that, didn't he? Just like on Eva and Hideyoshi Oji-san, one of those things had been stuck in Kanon's chest. One of those demon's ice picks was stuck into his forehead. Well, assuming that the classification system of the game is telling the truth and it's not in fact an unreliable narrator, or I guess in this case maybe Battler's perspective as a narrator, maybe that's what all of these are from, because in that case, if they did find somebody else he could be alive, then that means he's actually dead. Not sure on that one, and I probably won't find that out till later. Natsui-san let her head droop and closed her eyes tightly. We are not doing well. This room had also become a vital scene for us to hand over to the police. Can you just, check the whole place? I mean, there's probably dead bodies, hidden in the wall somewhere. It was decided that we would leave grandfather's corpse here and lock the room, sealing it. It isn't clear when grandfather's corpse started burning in the incinerator. since, according to Genji, the strength of the flames hadn't been that strong. The body must have started burning a long time ago. So that stench could slowly creep out of the furnace and fill the room, bit by bit, eventually pouring out and climbing up the staircase. Putting aside whether he was rare or well done. Oh, that's funny. That's bad, but that's funny. Grandfather had been brought out, killed, and burned, even though he had started out locked away in the closed room created by his autolock. There's probably no doubting this. However, according to Genji-san, the boiler room is usually locked. The possibility that someone outside of her group had snuck in and committed the crime was overwhelmingly high. And there was also a good chance that this person was walking around with something like a master key. After all, the doors and the windows throughout the mansion had been checked. But despite that, the culprit was able to strut around the mansion freely. Ooh, let's listen. Pretty good. After this latest crime, can we be sure that a 19th person exists? They haven't shown themselves once, and yet, someone's trying to tout their existence. Along with Kiryu-san's chessboard theory, I've been using this contradiction to deny the existence of a 19th person. By flipping the chessboard over once more... Oh, it's picking up a bit. The very fact that this crime makes it perfect... The very fact that this crime makes it perfectly obvious that a 19th person exists means that the existence of a 19th person is even less possible. As long as the 19th person doesn't show themselves in front of us. If the culprit could get grandfather out through the door sealed by the receipt, if they could kill Aunt Eva and Hideyoshi Oji-san from the other side of a door sealed by a chain, then is it possible for them to even create a fictional 19th person through strange tricks and devices? If we still want to believe that the culprit is among us, then the list of suspects is very short. Well, I mean, if you're still believing that it's one of us, then, as odd as it sounds, we still have Kumasawa-san that's suspicious. I mean, she was there whenever they discovered the two bodies. And she was the first person to the scene of the crime for Cannon's body. You're pretty suspicious there, Kumasawa. The four of his kids, Aunt Natsui Genji-san, Kumasawa-chan, and Dr. Nanjo. One of these people has to be the culprit. Wait, we can't be sure of that. Just a second ago, we started doubting whether the corpse here was actually grandfather's, right? Maybe we can think of the other bodies in the same way. For example, the first 6 all had their faces horribly smashed. Some of the bodies had kept enough of their faces for us to confirm who they were, but that old man, for example, had lost his entire face, as though it had been peeled off. Ugh. We'd only figured out which body was which by their clothes and surroundings. Had the culprit prepared a faked body beforehand and disguised it to make it look like they died, when they'd actually hid somewhere after committing the crime? A pretty solid crime, to say the least, whenever you don't have any forensic evidence on hand and you're only visually inspecting the scene. A very solid way to cover up that type of thing. It sounds ridiculous, but that doesn't mean it's an impossible trick. It's too early to give in to this 19th person. No, this witch! Unsettling music. Love it.
それ以上しげしげと見てはなりません。さあ、バトラ君もカノンの容体も気になりますし、いつまでもこのようなところにはいられません。戻りましょう。
Maria hadn't gone out with everyone else, but had remained in the boiler room. The thing she was staring fixedly at was probably not grandfather's body, but the demon's ice pick that was sticking out of his forehead. She was probably barely able to contain her enthusiasm. Look at that face. Excitement. I tapped her on the head.
おい、マリエ。 ベアトリーチェの目的は何なんだ。俺たち全員の命か。
ベアトリーチェはもうすぐ蘇るんだよ。その時、誰も生き残れはしない。
You do realize that includes you, right, Maria?
よくも笑えるもんだぜ。自分だけ蚊帳の外だと思ってるのか。どうして自分の身に危機が迫っていると感じない。どうして怯えない。
ベアトリーチェは約束してくれたもん。マリアは黄金鏡へ連れて行ってもらえるんだよ。
I wouldn't trust that Beatrice. She sounds like a bad person.
そこはね、
She's stabbing people.
しがらみも何もない全ての人たちがずっと一緒にいつまでも優しくし合っていける素敵な場所なんだよ。
Do you even know what the term obligation means at your age?
マリアは楽しみだよ。その時はもうすぐだもん。
Oh, please don't do that face thing again, Maria. Just what kind of person is Maria? I only know what Maria was like 6 years ago, when she was 3. She'd been pure and obedient, a good girl. This new Maria 6 years later, and the Maria I knew, didn't seem to fit together. Just who are they? Maria, and the one who claims to be a witch. To Maria, who obstinately believes in the witch, the series of unsolvable crimes is proof that the witch actually exists. Every time something occurs that would be difficult for a human, it becomes a little harder for the rest of us not to believe in Beatrice. It must be an intense pleasure for Maria to see her relatives, who once firmly denied the witch's existence, start acknowledging that witch existence one by one, or have an ice pick in their forehead. Is that why she's in high spirits? Thank you for not doing that thing with your face, Maria.
もう一遍だけ聞く。どうせ答えは同じだろうが、もう一遍だけ聞く。お前は昨日バラ庭園で手紙をもらった。そいつは誰なんだ。
おお、だからベアトリーチェ。
I figured.
バトラがまだ信じない。おお。
Maria only repeated what she had already said. Maria had met with the 19th person, the witch. Had that really been a 19th person? Or had that been one of the 18 who told her to say otherwise? All that's certain is that Maria has been with the rest of us constantly, has always had an alibi, and hasn't done anything that would put her under suspicion. Which is why she's so suspicious. She's simply overjoyed at being made Beatrice's messenger, and there certainly isn't a 19th person. Supposedly. That's right. I wonder what's written in the letter we picked up in Aunt Eva and Hideo Shoji-san's room. Probably something along the lines of, don't come to the boiler room or we're gonna stab you in the chest with an ice pick. Aunt Natsui should still have it with her. That would probably be a smart idea to take a look at before anyone else gets themselves killed. 8 o'clock. Getting close to bedtime, isn't it? Unless you guys are planning on staying up all night. In the end, Canon-kun did not regain consciousness, as would be expected with a wound like that. I think you mean he's dead. Very dead. Found in the boiler room with a weapon resembling an ice pick rammed into his chest. How presumptuous for such lowly furniture. Oh, man. I'm thoroughly convinced that Beatrice is writing the second half of these, epitaphs, so to speak. Because obviously the first half is written by a very normal type of observer, writing just simply the facts. And, yeah. What I'm looking for him, yeah. And then the second half just, it definitely seems like Beatrice is writing this. Especially considering that, did he say something about furniture, or did he just say that in his mind? I think he said that aloud. I'm not sure. Regardless, mentioning it yet again, definitely sounds like Beatrice is writing the second half of these. So we got 2 servants, a doctor, some kids, and 1 adult left who is going to inherit everything, assuming she doesn't get dead. Even though Dr. Nanjo and the rest did all they could to heal him, there was very little that could be done on an island like this without medicine or proper facilities. However, Cannon was the only human to ever confront the culprit. If only he could give us some kind of clue. However, at the time that we carried Cannon here, it was already too late.
申し訳ありません。あのような重傷を設備のないところではどうしようも。
いえ、無理もないことです。最善を尽くしてくださり、ありがとうございました。
Dr. Nanjo's shirt had been sprayed by a violent spurt of blood, so it was easy to imagine the devotion with which he had tried to save Cannon's life, up until the last second. Jessica was crouched in the corridor, crying in anguish. She had probably been taking care of Cannon until the moment of his death. George Aniki tried to approach her with words of comfort, but when Jessica pushed him away, he stopped trying to force her to talk and left her alone.
私がカノンさんを一人で行かせなければ。
気に病むことはない。仮に一緒だったら熊沢も襲われていたかもしれん。それに愚かにも先走ったゆえの自業自得だ。
そんな言い方ってねえぜ。カノン君は犯人の姿を見つけて誘拐に立ち向かったんだ。熊沢さんも一緒だったら犯人は躊躇して逃げることを選んだかもしれない。
Bit iffy on that, but sure. Emotion-filled words that I had never thought I'd hear coming from Jessica's mouth tumbled out. Kumasawa, looking truly sorry, could do nothing but hang her head.
ジェシカ、今は言葉をかけるべきじゃない。僕だって、そしてバトラ君もだろう。もう何が何だかわからなくて心が張り裂けそうだよ。
There were tears in George Aniki's eyes again. Seeing Jessica break down crying probably brought the pain of losing his parents back. I had already cried myself dry, so I didn't want to cry anymore. However, I understood how great the pain in their chest was.
大丈夫だよ、ジェシカ。カノンにだってまたすぐ会えるよ。
Wasn't that nice?
よしてくれよ。そういう慰めはいらねえぜ。
ベアトリーチェは死者も
You're gonna get yourself slapped.
蘇らせる。だからきっとすぐに会えるよ。そしてきっとみんなで穏やかに過ごせるから。
カノン君を殺したのがマリアに昨日手紙を渡したっていうベアトリーチェなのか。そいつはどこにいるんだよ。どこに隠れてるんだよ。私が見つけて引き裂いてやる。言えよ。知ってるんだろ犯人の正体を。お前は何を知っていて何を隠してるんだ。話しやがれ。
お嬢様、おやめください。
ベアトリーチェはいる。
You're gonna get slapped.
ちくしょう、源氏さん話せよ。マリアが犯人を知ってる。しかもそいつは知ってて隠してるんだ。そして俺たちの内情を伝えて殺しの手引きをしてるに違いないんだぜ。
ジェシカ、静かにしなさい。
Jessica rushed at Maria and grabbed hold of her. Genji tried to stop her, but Jessica could not be calmed. The next thing I heard was the sound of Aunt Natsui slapping Jessica's face. After that, Jessica's sorrowful sobbing voice resounded throughout the hall.
マリアちゃん、僕は君が断じて犯人ではないことを知っている。君はいつも僕たちと一緒にいたし、犯人なんかと通じている時間はなかった。だから聞かせてほしい。君に昨日手紙を渡したベアトリーチェとは誰なんだい？
Although these words seem kind, they clearly showed that George still had some doubts about Maria. He hadn't tackled Maria. However, he felt exactly the same way Jessica did.
兄貴、同じことは俺もさっき聞いたぜ。返事は同じさ。
マリアちゃんの口から聞きたい。ベアトリーチェとは誰なんだい？
言ってもどうせ信じない。
それはどういう意味だい？ひょっとして僕らのよく知る人物が犯人で、君は何かの事情からそれをかばうために黙っているというのかい？君はあの手紙を誰にもらったんだい？
ベアトリーチェにもらったんだよ。何度だって言う。手紙はベアトリーチェにもらった。ジョージお兄ちゃんがベアトリーチェを信じないのは殴れる相手じゃないから？ジョージお兄ちゃんはやるせない気持ちを暴力に変えて誰かにぶつけたいと思っている。だから殴れる相手が人間じゃなきゃ収まりがつかない。だからそんなジョージお兄ちゃんには真実を話しても受け入れられない。だから言っても無駄。信じない。でもマリアは何度も言うよ。真実だから言うよ。ベアトリーチェはね、いるの。黄金鏡の扉はもうすぐ開かれるよ。マリアはそこに行くの。ベアトリーチェが約束してくれたの。その世界ではママも優しくてパパも一緒で優しいの。マリアは早くそこへ行きたいの。
This sounds like she's going to kill everybody.
みんなはベアトリーチェのことを恐れている。そしてそれは無理もないことだけど。なら安心して。ベアトリーチェは言ってたよ。台風が去るまでに全てを終わらせるからって。
饒舌なマリアも嫌いじゃねえが、とりあえずはそのくらいにしとけ。魔女はいるいる言ってたお前にとってさぞや現状は愉快だろうが、とりあえずそいつはお前だけで噛み締めとけ。他人にまで押し付けるんじゃねえ。
こいつ前から気持ち悪いやつだと思ってたけど、おかしいぜ。どっかおかしいぜ。バトラは思わねえのかよ。ケンジさんは、熊沢さんは、母さんはどうだよ。マリアは犯人の正体を知ってて隠してる。確かに直接手を下してるわけじゃないかもしれない。でも間違いなく犯人の一味だぜ。そうさ、スパイさ。私たちと一緒になんかいさせられないぜ。
マリアちゃん、不謹慎な話を慎むべき時もあることを知りなさい。これ以上混乱に油を注ぐような真似が過ぎれば、おばさんも本気で怒ります。
Aunt Natsui glared at Maria with frightening eyes. Maria was used to Aunt Rose's loud style of scolding, but she apparently wasn't immune to this kind of silent telling off. She shrugged and kept her mouth shut. A desolate feeling filled the room. It felt as though things would just get more complicated if anyone spoke. How many people have already died? 6 people in Dad's group. After that, both Aunt Eva and Hideyoshi Oji-san, Kanon-kun, grandfather. There were a whole 18 people on this island, and 10 of those people have been killed. More than half of us has been killed. And right now, there's absolutely no proof that the remaining 8 people will be alright.
とにかく今は仲違いをしている時ではありません。
Yeah, Discord happens in the next episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah. Not looking particularly well for us here. How presumptuous for such lowly furniture. Not doing particularly well. But we will come back here next time, and I hope we open up that letter, because I really think that's what we need to be doing right now. We need to be opening that letter and trying to figure out what's going on. Anyway, we'll get to that next time. Thanks for watching. Bye!